What's going on everybody, ToyCade here and welcome back to the channel. This little unit I'm reviewing today is something I pre-ordered over a year ago over in Japan on their Kickstarter page, Compatibility. It's the mini version created by Zuiki of the Konami classic Dance Dance Revolution that was huge in the late 90s and early 2000s, so let's warm up our fingers and check it out. Dance Dance Revolution Classic Mini was announced last October in 2023, and there was no doubt in my mind I had to get this. DDR was a classic in the late 90s, a game that my friends and I tried to play. Some mastered it, some failed like myself, but the huge machine, the unique style of gameplay, the physical challenge, and last but not least, the memorable music that forever reminds me of my young days. I think most of us can resonate with me about this attachment to DDR. So in this video, we'll be covering the unboxing, the overall build quality, gameplay, the good, the bad, and my final thoughts. So if there's a certain section you're interested in, feel free to skip to that bit, and I'll add the timestamps in the description below. So this mini was offered last year on Japan's crowdfunding page, Kibidango, for about 44,000 yen. Would have been cheaper if you backed the project earlier, but thereabouts, which is about 300 US and 430 Australian. So not cheap, but coming from a reputable company, Zuiki, who are behind a few good products such as the Nintendo Classic Mini NES, Super NES, Mini Astro City, Engre, and also the Denshiri Go controller that I reviewed on my channel. I was confident that I was getting a quality product, or was I? We'll discuss this in more detail later in the video. Let's quickly go through the unboxing and see what's inside. So the actual box itself is nothing flashy, and to be honest, I was a little underwhelmed when I first saw it. Not sure why they didn't have a real image of the unit instead of this rendered version, and overall, I wasn't wowed by seeing the box, but it's just a box. I do believe there's an English version where they do add a sleeve on top, but mine didn't come with this. The first box at the top had a USB-C power cable. This doesn't come with the power outlet, so you will need to provide your own USB-C compatible outlet or adapter. You also have a user manual which has both Japanese and English. And also the artwork of each version of the DDR included of the cab, which are the original DDR, DDR second mix, and DDR third mix. This includes the side pop artwork and marquee. Next we have two of the back bars, which mimics the original bars on the full-size machine. But in terms of the Mini, it really has no functionality other than the cosmetics and uses magnetic to connect to the main control pads. In terms of quality, it does feel flimsy. We then have two metal pieces that replicate on how it appeared on a full-size machine. Now the control panel, or mini dance mats, does feel good in my hands. The buttons are very clicky and it feels durable. We now come to the main attraction, the main mini console. And wow, it does look good and it screams nostalgia. I've seen those Broadwalk micro versions of these and those are kind of pointless and just a toy. But this classic mini, in the flesh, does look like a grand display piece. But at this point, I do notice the weight and the feel of the unit, and it does feel on the cheap side. Let's put this together, and it's pretty straightforward. The two middle pieces just clicks onto the front magnetically, and the two supporting poles are also the same and covers the controller via magnet. Though it should be noted that these two pieces are purely aesthetics and for display purposes. The cable for the two controllers can be threaded through the bottom of the main unit, but I found this again for display purposes to give it a clean look. But for gameplay, just connect it normally and let the cable loose. The back of the unit has the power switch, HDMI output, two USB-A ports for the controller, volume knob, a headphone audio output, and a USB-C power input. Surprisingly, there is no SD slot for expansion, which I think there was initial talk about this feature. To complete the look, you need to apply the top and side artwork included. I was a bit surprised how this was implemented. The artwork supply felt cheap, especially at the price point, and it looks to be a one-time use sticker, which was quite fiddly to install. So it's not very easily to replace or alternate between artwork. It seems very restrictive and, to be honest, quite disappointing. Guess they were trying to push you to buy 3 units so you can have the full set, because I don't see anyone replacing these one-time use sticker on a single unit. Once that's all done, it's just a matter of hooking up to a power source and switching it on. Now let's go over the specs of the unit. So this is a 1/5 size replica of the original, measuring 32.5 centimeters wide, 35.7 centimeters in depth, and 39.9 centimeters in height. It is equipped with a 5-inch 1024 by 768 LCD screen and can output video and audio to a TV or other device via the HDMI port at 720p. It has what looks like to be 4 speakers at the front, and the 2 at the top are non-functional and are just for props. The music in the game will consist mainly of the famous songs from DDR, DDR second mix and DDR third mix. The original arcade unit consists of a dance platform and cabinet, and the game is played by stepping on the arrow with your feet. But this mini version, players will be able to operate the game using their hands and using their fingers, so more of a gamepad. This can be played with 2 players, and there is an option of a play mat. In addition, the control pad can be connected to a PC and used as a controller for Dance Dance Revolution Grand Prix. If you're wondering if you can connect your external third-party dance mat, you're going to be disappointed. The community has already tested a few, such as LTEC, and can confirm they can be powered up, but not recognized. It was further discovered that the game has been set only to recognize one dance mat, which is the official Konami Dance Dance Revolution Revision 2 mat released earlier this year. I'm not sure about the original Revision 1 is compatible or not, but the cost of this Revision 2 is about 200 Australian, 135 US. It means to have a fully working 2-player using your feet, it will cost you around 600 US or 800 Australian all up, which is crazy. So keep that in mind if you're planning to buy this to use your existing dance mat. It won't work at the time of recording of this video. The inbuilt settings can be controlled at 2 levels, at the title select level and each game. At the title game select level, you have the ability to change the screen brightness, turn on wallpaper display, which is only applicable when using the HDMI out to fill in the 2 sides, as the resolution of the original game doesn't fit widescreen TVs. Sharp vision mode to make the image more clear. 3 background music options. Demo start time of none, 3 and 10 minutes. Language settings which support Chinese, Japanese, Korean and English. At the game level, you can change the difficulty. There are 8 levels. Easier, very easy, easy, medium, medium, hard, hard, very hard and hardest. You can change the number of stages per difficulty, reset the high score and also restore to default settings. There is also an option to save your current game using the 3 offered slot and restore from your last stage or state, which is good if you have something coming up between stages. The slot can be overwritten and deleted if required. Let's talk about available songs. From my testing and playing, these were the only songs available to select with audio, while the other listed were muted. There will definitely be disappointment from the DDR community, with the missing classic songs such as Bumblebee, Cutie Chaser, After the Game of Love, Drop the Bomb, and a few others. But the complications of such arcade classic involving licensing will always be a challenge. People not understanding licensing will be disappointed, and understandably, when this is marketed as an official replica. The implementation of muting songs where they lack the licensing seems odd. Whether it was removing the songs altogether was a better approach, maybe. But it does feel very beta-like and incomplete with such feature. I'm not sure who will want to play a song in silence. It makes zero sense and gives a user the incomplete feel. From a bigger picture point of view, as it will be available in the retail market, consumers will not be part of the crowdfunding, and again, these consumers who are not aware of these licensing issues will feel shortchanged.
You're almost there. Please try a little harder. Game over!
It has been confirmed that the DDR mini software is running forked MAME and silence patch CHD image, and it's not something that can be easily hacked initially if you're thinking about unlocking those music. Now let's talk about the quirks. The marquee black line. This will only annoy the anal collectors who are looking to put this as a display piece, but it's something that I noticed whenever I was looking at the unit. From a distance, there is a black line at the bottom of the marquee which kind of obstructs the flow of the image when viewing it. This is caused by the bend or curve in the plastic. However, if you place the machine high enough on the shelf, it won't be visible. Something minor, but it does bother me. Lag. When scrolling through games, there is a noticeable lag when scrolling between titles. Nothing major. Another issue I noticed during the last week of playing was my unit will freeze or crash during the loading of DDR second mix. This happened twice and the screen would just freeze on the startup warning screen. Pressing any button doesn't do anything, and even switching the power off from the back does nothing. The only solution here is to simply unplug the power cable. This is a little annoying and hopefully Zuiki fixes it in a future update. While we're on the topic of quirk, let's move on to the bad and good of this unit. The bad. The cheap flimsy plastic used on the main unit. At this price point, I probably wanted something more durable as I do intend to use it as a console with my family. The once-off sticker artwork, maybe it was better not to put these on, but it does give the full arcade look. I just didn't like how flimsy and cheap they feel, and also had fiddly to install. The short USB cable for the control pads. I found these too short, which meant you had to keep the console close to you depending how long your HDMI cable is and also your power cable. You might be playing quite close to the TV. Yes, playing on the console will invalidate this point, but to get the most out of this rhythmic game and have the immersive experience of how it was in the arcade, a big screen with a good sub and speaker is required, so hooking up to your TV entertainment system should be the ideal setup. In saying that, I really wish they implemented Bluetooth to this unit, and they won't have this issue. I could have played this game on the comfort of my sofa, and even at this price point, Bluetooth should have been included. Silencing or muting of songs. Seems to be deliberate, and as a original backer, guess it's acceptable as Zuiki has been transparent about its licensing issue with music, but this is now a product that is open to the masses via retail channels, and this can be easily seen as a negative if you were one of those owners, which has a negative impact on the brand in my opinion. Restricting dance mat options to only the official Konami DDR Revision 2 is disappointing. I really wanted to buy a second-hand pad or one of those cheap ones off eBay or Amazon and give my kids the experience of how it was played with your feet and legs. But being forced to purchase a 20,000 yen mat is hard to swallow, and that is only for one. Now let's discuss the good. This is a highly detailed classic mini version of DDR arcade machine, and it screams nostalgia to me. It just looks amazing. The premium feel control pad, I love the clickiness of the button and the constant lights flashing. HDMI out to play on an actual TV or monitor. Having that option, which is really required in my opinion to play on a big screen, is great. Really makes it more than a display piece. A display masterpiece. It just looks amazing on your shelf and probably the best looking classic mini out there so far. Great selection of music despite all the licensing issues and incomplete catalogue for each game, but it is enough to enjoy and appreciate. Being able to use a control pad on a PC and use a controller for DDR Grand Prix is a bonus, making the control panel more versatile. So what are my final thoughts? We can appreciate Zuiki for bringing this classic in a mini version. Such a cab to recreate at such detail would have been a difficult and challenging for the design team, and that's at the hardware level. Then there's a headache of the music licensing. And the fact that this was a crowdfunding level, it allows Zuiki to be more transparent and very clear from the start with the challenges of obtaining music licenses. So the lack of music content should not come as a surprise for all the backers of the project. Though this will be a different story for the retail buyers, where I believe the hard criticism will come from. And who knows, we've already seen Zuiki issue an update where you can download and update the system for more TV compatibility. So maybe in the future they will release new songs as they get the license, who knows. From my point of view, I'm happy I backed this project and finally get my hands on this unit. It'll be definitely more of a display piece for me, but while it's still new and the kids loving it, I will continue to play it. When I backed this project, they didn't have the most iconic song, Butterfly by Smile DK. And the fact they managed to secure this before production and it's now playable, I'm so happy. It's one of my favourite songs of all time and it never gets old. The disappointment is the overall build quality. Though it looks the part, it is not something I would take with me like a Switch console at the same price point. It's quite fragile without any supported travel case. I would have preferred they use more quality and durable material rather than the cheap flimsy plastic, which doesn't feel great in your hands. The controller on the other hand feels premium in comparison to the main unit, which will get the most abuse from gameplay. There you go guys, Zuiki's official Konami licensed DDR Classic Mini. Finally released and available to order. I'll leave a link below in the description where you can order this unit. If you're a DDR fan, this is something worth considering. It is pricey and it isn't perfect, but it really does look good and sound good, and it's a functioning console. I hope you found this video very informative and enjoyable. If you did, please give a thumbs up and share this video. And if you haven't, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching and
Get out of here!
get out of here.
Give me the reason to want you back when you do me so bad.
Everybody sing yeah. Everyone, come on. Dance Dance Revolution, third mix.